Councilors, the Legal Affairs Committee will now come to order. Legal Affairs Committee members are myself. Sitting in for Councilor Garabedian will be Councilor, Manning Martin, yeah. Councilor Manning Martin, if you'd sit in for Councilor Garabedian. Councilor Gravel, Councilor Matsoulis, and Councilor McGinn. And we also welcome Councilor Turco and Councilor Gould, as well as President Sasslaw. Welcome. The first item on the agenda this evening is the legal opinion regarding the current moratorium on billboard special permits. I know Attorney Smozinski, there he is, Attorney Smozinski is in the House, and his recommendation, if you read it, councilors, was that if we remove the language, if I understand this correctly, if we remove the language in our zoning ordinance relative to billboards, then there wouldn't be an opportunity for an applicant to come forward to apply because it would not be part of our zoning. So am I correct, Michael? And do you want to explain that?
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, thank you for having me tonight. Relative to two requests for opinion, I combined the responses in one communication back because they were so related. You know, the first issue was a prospect of instituting a permanent moratorium. And quite frankly, the functional equivalent in terms of legislative action of a permanent moratorium is the repeal of the statute. And quite frankly, from just a language, organization standpoint, a format standpoint in the zoning ordinance, if you just repeal the statute and take out the billboard section and eliminate it altogether, there goes the special permit rights and everything associated with billboards going forward, as opposed to leaving the whole section in with a note saying there's a permanent moratorium. So I think it accomplishes what is probably the consensus of the council, but in a way that I think is more consistent with legislative interpretation. Now, at the same time, there was a concern about multi-faced unidirectional billboards. I mean, we see this, it's on the Malden line, I think, at Cappy's store. Now, the thought is that if you enact a repeal of the billboard section, then you have the power to address this issue about adding faces to existing billboard facilities by prohibiting, going forward, static and digital billboards, which would be double subsection L, and add another section, double subsection M, prohibiting any additional faces to an existing billboard structure or billboard monopole. And quite frankly, I know it's very concise in my response back to the council and in the motions that were made, but I think this is the fix for what I believe the council wants to accomplish. And it's certainly the neatest thing, the least amount of strain on the typist of the zoning ordinance, and again, just leaves what has already been put in place, the so-called existing billboards and the couple of pre-existing non-conforming that is still out there, and shuts off the ability of anyone else coming in and looking for a new billboard use.
Thanks, Mike. Does anybody have any questions for Attorney Smozinski? Councilor Manning Martin. Yeah, how soon would we be able for this to become effective? What are our next steps to seal this up?
Advertise, vote, submit it to the planning board. Planning board has to act within 65 days of its submission. And then the day you vote on it, it becomes effective subject to the signature of the mayor. So it's a relatively quick process. And just, in terms of another thought that I want to share with you, and going back to the point of beginning, I also want to say that the council has some belts and suspenders. If there was the prospect of, you know, an outdoor advertising operator, you know, coming in and wanting to create, you know, 2 unidirectional billboards, it's clearly a situation where there would have to be a special permit amendment. So, I mean, there's belts and suspenders that exist now, but if you just want to shut the door completely, I think, you know, taking this track will accomplish the goal.
What's that, Councilor? Councilor Sasslaw.
Just for clarification, you said advertise, vote, submit to planning board, but do we have to vote what we're going to advertise before we advertise it?
Right. Apparently, you know, you can report it out to the council today and take an action to say, yes, we do want to advance a zoning change that has these 2 components, send the request to the planning board so that it can hold its hearing and create a report and order the clerk to advertise it for your next hearing.
Okay. And one other question I had, Mike, as far as the fees that we get on an annual basis, how is that all tied into this as far as, does that prohibit us from changing? I know the term, I believe, years ago was linkage fees and things like that, but does that prohibit us, or is that something that is still available to us if we choose to change any fees, or do we have that possibility down the line?
Well, if you repeal it, you're not going to get any new billboards with new fees of the existing levels or enhanced levels if you wanted to amend the fees upwards. For those that receive the special permits under the fee structure of their application and approval, we're stuck with that ad infinitum. You're not going to raise those.
Further questions for Councilor Turco?
Mike, I just want to make sure, because with repealing the amendment and then with the new amendment, there's no gap in time where somebody could sneak something in, whether it be, you know, there's no gap via the law that when we repeal the first amendment, by the time the second takes effect, that anybody could submit an application for a billboard in that time frame. Are they contiguous?
Tying amendment and amendment in one sentence may cause a little confusion. There will be a right in the city in you know, with BR1 zone for someone to apply for a billboard up until the time that there is a repeal. And the repeal, plus the addition of totally prohibited types of signs, which I suggest should be static and digital billboards, or additional faces, goes in simultaneously. It will happen on a time certain. So the billboard ordinance as it is, 11.6, literally is redacted out of our zoning bylaw. The prohibited signs list is then added to, and that happens on a certain date, hour, minute, and second.
Thank you very much.
Further questions, councilors? Councilor Manning-Martin.
Actually, yes. I would be remiss if I didn't seize the opportunity to ask you a billboard question in this regard. Given that the billboards that we have up that are currently either digital or static, I did notice when I drove down Green Street to check out the medicinal marijuana zoning area in Linfield that billboard that's right there in the Peabody Office Park has been altered. It is no longer a digital, it's a static, although there's nothing advertised on it. They made significant changes to it. I got out of the car today and I took some pictures. I mean, it was very noticeable because those digitals are crisp and brand new, and I looked at this thing and it looked like a hunk of junk. So they switched it out. So I got out of the car to explore further, and you could see that there was some work done. There was clips of electrical wires, and the meter, I think, was blinking, so they probably turned it off because it's no longer electrical. And it's funny, I found the guy's card that did the work. It was in a puddle, dried off. His name was Gregory Ziomek of Ultra-LUM, Ultralume. And now there's a picture of the truck and the work that they do. It's a big bucket truck, so I looked over to the left, and there's a hole. The truck was there because all the grooves and mud, I mean, it's damaged because they had done a significant work on that billboard. So that's a violation of special permit of was going to refer it later our regular meeting, but I wanted to get your advice on this. Does this, what we're changing now, given that we're moving forward, we have 65 days, et cetera, how does this action, because this is our fear that they know we're going to be making changes, we want the moratorium, and we had spoken about this, that once they catch wind of it, they're going to scurry around and make changes to their billboards, because I'm very concerned about the work that was done there. So how, moving forward, does action like this, how do we address it? The same way we would under our special permit laws?
What happened was, a week before you did your investigation, the report of which is 100% accurate, I saw what was going on. Called the building inspector, said to shut them down, and explained to them that even a change from digital to static requires an amendment to your special permit and get your application in, but stop all work.
Okay, so they did violate the special permit, but because now the concern is what is their plan? What are they up to? Because now that when you change it from digital to static, you're changing the distance that you can put up the next one. So within the next 65 days or whenever we get this done, I would venture a guess that somebody's planning to put up another one, because going from digital to static, you can fit more billboards into the area, and I think they're going to jump. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do, Detective Manning Martin, except for,
I took the day off today. See what happens? I went to the drug task force meeting today, so I had some time on my hands.
we still have the moratorium, so I don't think that they would be able to do any other additions in that time frame, because the moratorium would still be in existence until we adopt the zoning or remove it or redact it, as Councilor Smazinski said, from our zoning ordinance. Our moratorium is still in effect until 2018.
Okay, so then we should,
We're in good shape.
we're in good shape so that okay. So then we should handle this then as a violation of the special permit then, because that's what it was, right?
I considered it a zoning and building violation. They were shut down, and I believe an application for a special permit amendment has been filed.
No, it has not. Tim said it has not.
Okay.
But, you know, after the Huss left the barn, I'm not interested in receiving a special permit request after they went ahead and did it anyway. But, you know, we can talk about that at that time. Well, thank you very much. You've been very helpful.
Thank you. Further questions? Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any further questions, but if there's no other comments from other councilors, I'd be ready to make a motion.
Councilor McGinn, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move to amend the zoning ordinances of the City of Peabody as adopted April 28, 2011, and as most recently amended, and to submit to the Planning Board by 1, repealing Section 11.6 and all subsections, section titled Billboards, and 2, to amend Section 11.8, prohibited signs, by adding 2 new subsections, subsection 11, any static or digital billboard, and subsection M, any additional face to an existing billboard, billboard structure, or billboard monopole. So moved.
On the motion, councilors? Roll call.
Councilors Manning Martin.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Mitsoulas. Walsh.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, councilors. Thank you, Councilor Smazinski. Our next item is the issue that was referred to us regarding special municipal employees. And Councilor Manning Martin, you had requested that to come before the committee, so we'll start with you.
I did, but given the fact that and partially, you know, I had planned to get it out to committee members, subcommittee members sooner. We didn't get the actual language of the law that they need to read and absorb until yesterday. So in fairness to the subcommittee members, I wanted to give them time to read it so that we could have thorough discussion, because there's no rush on it. I mean, as you know, it's been this way for many years, so we can, if you could keep it in, unless everybody read it and they have a great handle on it and they can shed some wisdom to it, I'd be happy to leave it in committee until till they get that chance to read it and learn about it.
Okay, councilors, what is your wish? The only thing I would say is we have Councilor Smrzinski here, so maybe he could give us an explanation on exactly why there are special employees and what the history is behind it. So, Mike, if you wouldn't mind.
Now, I know that there's been a piece of paper or a package that's been disseminated. I don't have that, and I'd like to take.
Okay.
Yeah, let's give him time too. It's Attorney Swazinski. It's title. It's Chapter 268A, Sections 17 and 20. So if we can get that too, maybe we could just schedule for another day, and so we can have a better conversation on it.
As Larry O'Keefe would say, I don't want to be shagging fly balls and
Yeah, no, I hear
web in the
you.
glove.
We don't want you to do that, and I didn't want my colleagues to have to do that either. So.
Okay, and if there, Councilman McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Councilor Manning Martin, do you want to just receive this? I think it was a late communication, just so that we actually have it.
Yes, motion received. Thank you.
Okay, on
The
that
late
motion,
communication. Thank
all
you.
in favor, any opposed, it is a vote. Further motions? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you.